What's up, y'all? Welcome to another review by Ryan. A very happy Tuesday to all of you. It is Tuesday, October 11th, and I hope you all are doing well wherever you're at in the world at the time you find this reaction. In this reaction video, we'll be reacting to the season finale, episode 12 of the second season of Love Live Superstar. Before I start this reaction, I want to give a very big thank you to all of you who have watched not only all of my Love Live reactions, but have watched any of my reactions from the spring and summer season. As those of you who have been day one people of my channel know, this is a very important reaction because this is my last reaction until I go on hiatus. So I really just wanted to thank all of you, especially my day one people, for supporting this channel. This was a trial-based channel, both here on YouTube, on Bilibili, and other platforms where I share my reactions as I get a feel for being in the world of reacting to animes. Some things have gone well and some things have not gone as well, and I've obviously had issues here and there, especially when I had the eye injury, but it has definitely been fun. It's been an absolute blast doing these anime reactions, and whether you've agreed with everything I've said in my reactions or not, including some of the things I'm probably going to say today, I hope you've enjoyed being here, and will look forward to my return, as I will be taking just a one season hiatus, but I will be back at the winter 2023 season, which starts around the first and second week of January. So definitely look forward to that, and I'll talk a little more about that at the end of the video. So there's not really a lot to say as we go into this season finale, except a few things. As many of you have realized over the last two episodes, I have definitely shown a bit of considerable concern with the direction that we are going with this story. There's always been controversy in any season. There's always been issues with our main group, from the great Honoka slap to everything that transpired with Aqua, even down to the conflicts that existed in Niji, especially between Ayumu and Yu, and everything that went down with them, which I honestly thought went down very well, especially with how they introduced Shalonzu. But here I'm stuck in an unprecedented conflict where I've gone from coming into this season planning to give it an 8 as long as the introduction of the new girls was consistent, and even after Vienna Margaret was introduced, planning to give an 8 if her story meshed well in the grand scheme of things and in the grand scheme of this story that is being shown with Liela. I find myself incredibly conflicted. Putting aside anything that I've said about Vienna, about obviously me being very partial to her aesthetic and the fact that I love her songs, to just accepting that everything has felt incredibly forced with the story. That just like I felt with the game and Lanzu, just on even a greater level because it now made its way to the anime, feeling that there were ways that they could have done this that would have meshed very well with the story, and it just didn't happen that way. I'm going to be the first to admit that I feel that Vienna Margaret's entire story, now that we know kind of what's up with her family, even before me watching this episode, feels very forced. It feels like there was thought put into it and you can tell what they're trying to go, but unfortunately it makes another character in this look really shitty, and that character is none other than Kanan. That she gets everything that she wants all the time. And really it's just everyone else is just kind of an addition to her. Now, it didn't feel that way as much in the first season. We had really great moments in the first season, and honestly, I was incredibly glowing. I wish y'all could have seen my reactions when the first season of Liela happened. I was blown away. I loved the story. I thought it was a great story, and I definitely could see where they were trying to go for the future of this group. Obviously, I had my concerns, just like anybody else, when they announced the 4 new members, that I don't know if they're going to mesh as well. I don't know if the songs are going to be as, engaging, and if I'm going to be as passionate as I was in the first season. Nothing has really surpassed songs like Nonfiction, for example. Ren's entire arc, when we found out about, her situation with her family and being alone and having to take on this responsibility of a school that more or less has been left to her, and you felt a lot of great things. And even with the Kanan and Chisato, I thought that was really well done, and there were just so many great moments that made the first season really magical. And to date, I can say that one of the only few moments that I felt that type of magic or excitement from was when Sumire and Cuckoo had their bonding moment in this second season. And I will talk about that when I talk about my final rating at the end. So, I go into this episode understanding I'm not going to be happy about what's going to happen, but it is Love Live, and to treat it with, just take it for what it is. And I will do my best to give an as unbiased opinion about this final episode and how I feel at the end. But I'm also going to give a truthful episode. I wouldn't be doing anime reactions if I allowed nonsensical fluff to take over. And Love Live has always had a lot of nonsensical fluff, but it's always meshed well with the story. The said that can't be said, the same that can't be said for how the last couple of episodes and really the duration of this season has gone. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and watch the episode, and I will give you guys my final thoughts and my final rating when we get to the end. So I'm going to take a quick moment, make sure my eyes are lubricated, and when I come back, we'll start the final episode. All right, y'all, I am back, and we're going to go ahead and get this season finale reaction started. Again, this is episode 24 of the series, episode 12 of season 2. The title of today's episode is A Story That Makes My Dream Come True. And as we ended the last episode, we saw that Chisato is now going to attempt to persuade Kanan to take the offer to that Vienna institution of music, in which apparently there's this stipulation that if she goes, so will Vienna Margaret, which we'll talk about how I feel about that at the end. So let's go ahead and get this started. Let me get this pulled up here. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry about that. My sound was going through my computer. Needed to go through my headphones. All right, let's get this started again in 3, 2, 1. I mean, that's true, but I don't know if I agree with that, causing so much more breakup than has already happened now. Like, yeah, like that's my thing. It's such a bad time. I mean, but people's goals do change, but And I know why she would feel that way, because Kanan was unfortunately robbed of her opportunity to be in the music school. So I'm not really upset about Chisato doing this at all. Just personal things that my thing is, all right, so here's the deal. People's goals change as they adjust to new surroundings, as they find new pleasures in life and things of that nature. Yes, Kanan was very upset when she didn't get in initially, and we saw that depression and we saw her have to counter and deal with that in the first season. But now that she has this new opportunity, of being able to grow with her girls, with this group, that produces new dreams. Sure, I'm sure that she wants to do this, but it's one of those things that, just like what Chisato said was, won't you regret this then? She could regret going there. What happens if she does regret that? And let's say the group suddenly falls apart, the chemistry falls apart and everything after that. There's just so many different ways it can go. I do think this is a terrible time for something like this to happen, especially with the stipulation that's on her going there. With Vienna and everything that's associated with that. So I honestly, I'm kind of with what May just said, but could you go at a different time? So I guess we'll see. Yeah. I mean, and I get it. Maybe if it wasn't for how this offer came up, I would be more wanting of her to do that. But it's because of the how this occurred. Also, I love these two. Yeah, it really is just the way that this opportunity came up that I feel the way I do right now about this. I mean, we go from 5 to 9 to 8. Like, it's just wild. And obviously, that means someone would have to take over as a new leader now. What if she says no anyway? Oh, man. I mean, yes, and all of us understand that. But would it even be an environment that would, see, it's just so many hit and misses if it would be a good environment or not. We don't know anything about what this could be. And also, I don't really care much for Vienna's parents. So, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Oh. Which I think is an absolutely dumb stipulation, but I'll let that be. Which we're still trying to figure out how that happened, but it's cool. See, I mean, and this is true. I'm not going to deny that. To think that she would be the one to push her herself. Well, it looks like Nana's pushed her, but also this whole push slash forced answer stuff. I tell you. I really just don't know if Kanan would really be overly happy about this arrangement, though. Even if she accepts it, because the entire idea has been forced on her. But I guess that's kind of how it always tends to go. Well, I mean, winning Love Live is pretty much easy because we've taken all the players that could have beat them out nonsensically. But yeah. So this is pretty much easy as pretty much straightforward. It's gonna have. It's gonna be so wild though. You are not going to be at the center. Sorry. Yo, what if they lost to a no-name group? Oh man. All right, so she's leaving. Vienna's the one who pushed her to leave and really had to rattle the last nail in the coffin, and everything in this episode is going about as I anticipated. All right. I can, just like how stages are completely done so freaking quickly. Hmm. I tell you, we really did go speed racer to the finale. I'm sure you can. I'm still so angry that they got knocked out and Vienna got cooked. This is a nice stage, I will say that. Hey, we got the. Oh. Alright. Again, I will tell you right now, one negative you are not going to hear from me is production value. Because production value remains sky high for the Love Live series. So you will not hear that complaint from me, that's for sure. Bruh. And you know dang well, when SCA Live happens, we're going to try to arrange to do something like that. Bruh. Bruh. I mean, obviously they won, so. Yep. As a given. And of course, this does mean that Cuckoo will not go back home. And I guess that's really the only reason y'all are going to see me say something positive about how this final live went. I said final live. How this how this Love Live final performance went. Dang, they try to kick her out of there quickly, expeditiously. Well, obviously. Nani. Of course. A given. Huh? Wait, what the heck? Wait! Wait, no statement. Wait, what the hell? It's not gonna happen? I guess that was a letter saying it's not happening. I will have to pause to confirm that before I go into my final thing, because that's pretty critical before I go into my final rating thoughts. So, yeah. What the heck? And again, another positive, I will say I continue to enjoy this ending song for sure. So, I thought it was aesthetically a really nice song. Okay, so before I go into final rating thoughts, I'm going to take a quick moment because I do need to clarify that ending. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. I got clarity, so we will go ahead. I'm actually not going to talk about initial final thoughts, and we're going to skip straight to ratings because there's a bit to talk about. So, if you've watched any of my other final rating thoughts, you will know that my categories there are 4 major categories for my final ratings. 40% of weight goes to the story, and then 20% respectfully goes to the art/animation, it goes to the music, and it goes to the storyboarding for a total collective score of 100%. Now, one thing I will do differently here is instead of giving an A through an F, I will give a 1 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. And then I will give my final rating of between a 1 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 at the very end. So, as far as the story goes, I think I've been pretty vocal about the fact that this was not as strong of a story as the first season was, and I definitely think there were multiple different kind of there were really troll elements that were thrown in. For example, we'll actually use the very end of the damn episode. It's very clear as day that the study abroad offer has since been rescinded, and above all, now as we see, Vienne Margaret is now in the uniform of Yuigaka. So that does mean that she is joining the school, which furthermore means the worst case scenario for me from a story perspective, and that worst case scenario is that it looks like Vienna Margaret is going to become a member of Liela in the near future. I know there are going to be some of you that are going to be jumping in joy about that, and I personally disagree, and it is going to affect my overall rating. I think that they had a great story put together with her being, not so much an antagonist, but just a rival, like Arise and Saint Snow ended up being, and even Lanzu. And, obviously with Lanzu, which was the most recent person we've had with the 3rd season of Nijigasaki, she wanted to become more of a fan with idols. She loved them. She loved them when they did their performances, and she saw their performance. It made perfect sense that she wanted to join. But with Vienne, it's a different situation. I feel that she has so much to give as an independent idol, and I would have loved and would love to see that her not become a permanent member of Liela. But unfortunately, and I've been saying this for several episodes, Love Live refuses to want, as a collective, as a franchise collectively, not just for Liela, but as a whole, we refuse to let conflict sit around too long. Because if it does sit around too long, it is not the Love Live that we've all come to know and love. And again, it's a comfort thing. We want to keep as many fans as possible into the series, and as a result of keeping as many fans as possible in, we're never going to let a conflict drag too long. Obviously, with how the game did Lanzu, she was done incredibly poorly. And then when we came to the anime, they made various levels of correction to make sure that they could get more people on track with her. And I will say, it fit with the narrative of the story. So unlike how I feel with how this happened with Liela, I did feel that fit. And as a matter of fact, those of you who have saw my reaction knew I gave a very high score to the 2nd season of Nijigasaki because the story just felt right. The songs felt right, the backgrounds and the history behind everybody. The biggest weakness had to do with Cotton's segment, which I would have wanted it to be just a little bit longer, but it wasn't a major thing. Unfortunately, with the 2nd season of Superstar, I felt there were a lot of forced story elements. We suddenly bought Vienna in. Obviously, y'all know that from a musical standpoint, I love her. She aesthetically is definitely me. And I do believe that the 2 best songs of this entire 2nd season were her 2 songs. So, but putting that aside, it doesn't mean that me musically loving her meant that her addition added a lot to a story standpoint, and if anything, it kind of really complicated the story in a way that was off-putting to quite a number of people that I have talked with, and obviously there are some of you that are just like, you're just being too critical, it's Love Live, you need to remember what this franchise is about. But just because that is the case does not mean I'm going to give the benefit of a doubt, and I'm going to give kudos to a story that I felt was copped out on at the end because of, plot reasons. So I just believe that it's kind of silly now that all of this happened, that we knocked the big players of the competition out early on. We give Liela an easy way out. Then we go through this whole segment that she's going to leave, and now she's not leaving, and now Vienna's going to join, and now everything that I didn't want to transpire is going to transpire. It felt like a very easy way to resolve this, even easier in ways than how other things things happen with schools being shut down, or as in the game for Niji, whole clubs being rescinded and everything and stuff. It just feels that this was really a cop-out, and it wasn't a cop-out that I was a fan of. And then I don't even need to say that as far as our 4 new members go, even though out of the 4, Kinako was definitely my favorite of the 4 because she felt to be the most pure-hearted when it came to fitting the mold of what we've come to expect of people who form groups here. I don't feel from a story standpoint that there was really much benefit to them being here, and it just made everything that they should be aiming for. It made me even wanting to be excited about the final Love Live performance that they did, in which they have obviously won. I just wasn't excited for it. It's just there were too many things that were forced, and it's one of those few cases where adding new members, I do feel, hurt the story. So between my transgressions and concerns about that, my transgressions about what they were trying to do with Vienna, making her kind of be basically having to kiss ass to Kanon, and just everything that ended up happening, and then seeing at the end that the offer was rescinded anyway, I definitely am not happy with the story this time around, guys. I will be fair. This will probably be my lowest score I have ever given a season in the Love Live franchise. I have honestly given pretty consistent 7.5s to 8s across the board with the Love Live franchise, with honorable marks going to the second season of Niji, which did receive my highest score that I've ever given Love Live, in which I want to say I gave it a 9. Unfortunately, I can tell you for a fact that this is not getting an 8, and I hate to say it, is not getting a strong 7 either. I have decided that I'm going to slightly modify the rating that I was planning to go into this, giving it, and I'm going to give the, actually I'm jumping straight. I see I jumped ahead, we'll get to that in a moment. The story for this second season, quite frankly, gets a 5. I wasn't happy with the story the second season. So the story is going to get a 5 out of 10. And I wasn't very happy about it. As far as storyboarding goes, I do give credit where credit is due, that obviously it keeps us on our toes when you want to put these different plot points in place to keep us, wondering what the hell is going to happen next. Obviously, I feel that the inclusion of 4 new members in such a way that they were included wasn't really necessary, but the order that they did that was fine. I feel that it was just that I don't really feel they contributed much, but I didn't really have too much about the order that they chose to present them. With that said, I do believe that everything once Vienna was introduced was kind of done in a really weird way, and in a way that I can't really get behind and I don't really agree with. And especially with how things happened at the end of this, I just feel that they were kind of trying to figure out along the way how they wanted to introduce her. And since they probably already knew that they wanted her to inevitably become a member of Liela for some stupid reason, they did it the way they did, and then at the end of it, we obviously see that everything's been rescinded. She's going to stay at the school, and not only that, but we're now going to have Vienna joining. So, with that said, the storyboarding's not going to get much better from me, but I will go ahead and give the storyboarding a 6. I'll give it slightly higher than I gave the story itself, but again, I do feel that there were a lot of things that were done presenting this story and with the story itself that just weren't necessary, and I wasn't very happy about those things. So those are obviously, out of the 2, my weakest parts of the show. Music and art and animation, it speaks for itself. We come to expect great music from the Love Live franchise. This was no different. I do believe that these songs were not, that the songs and the meaning behind the songs, I do look at the lyrics of all the songs after they're performed, and if the lyrics don't show up on screen, I will go back and listen to these songs afterwards. I definitely believe that the songs were good, but they were not the level that I expect songs to be from this franchise. The first season, I gave a straight A. I thought all the songs were absolutely amazing, and then of course, y'all know that Nonfiction was my favorite out of all of them. This time around, I feel that some of the songs and some of the meanings behind them were also just kind of put together. But I'm not going to take away from this fact that the songs obviously continue to be one of the strong points of the Love Live series, and so I'm going to give the music for this anime and for this second season a 8 out of 10. I will say that the songs were great. They weren't better than the first season songs, and in my opinion, they definitely weren't as strong as anything that I got from the second season of Niji. But they were fine. They were fine, and I will give it. And also, that is me saying that the 4 additions didn't mess anything up. However, I do feel, well, actually, I'm going to take that back. I do feel that the 4 new additions, you could definitely tell that there was more, in my opinion, musically better chemistry with the songs in the first season with just the 5 than it was with the 9. And that, I do need to include that in there, because with music, that means me also factoring in if I felt the 4 contributed in a positive way or a negative way. It wasn't in a negative way, but it wasn't really to me in a positive way either. I just felt that we could have done, like I said with the story from the beginning, we could have kept it so that this first year's kind of were like red shirts. And those of you who know what red shirting is basically when you aren't at the level you need to be just yet to perform at such a high pedestal, such as the final competition of Love Live, but that obviously they are good enough that after they get that first year under their belt, they can perform collectively. It would have felt more emotional and bonding to me than it ended up being now. And probably I would have given the story a little better accolades, because then it would have just been better. We would have been more emotionally excited to see Liela win after unfortunately losing this pedestal 2 times in a row. It would have gave him time to get those first years right, and then we could have gone into this stronger than ever. But I also understand that the reason that can't work is because since we now, obviously, and I'll talk about that at the end, we now know that we are getting new additions, or at least 1 new addition, which really pretty much for this episode we know it's 2 new additions, because I'm just assuming Vienna's going to join now. It's just one of the things that they've made it so that what I just said can't work out anymore now. And now that we know Conan's not even going overseas now because the offer has clearly been rescinded, it's just one of those crazy things where it's just, this story easily could have put this into an 8.5 territory if they had just followed what I personally believe would have been a great story writing narrative. But I don't make the story. And again, I always say that I have always had faith in the committee pulling it together in the end, and no matter how controversial a season might be, always wrapping it up in a great way, which I can be happy and say, hey, it came together in the end. It gets a 7.5 out of 8. This was not the case here. So yeah, the music will stay an 8, but I do believe that unfortunately their addition and making it so that the strongest vocal person here was just completely obliterated after obliterating Sunny Paw, which is also pretty outrageous. It just isn't something that I'm a fan of, and unfortunately that has to be reflected in my score. But with that said, that has nothing to do with my opinion on the visual aspect of this. Art and animation was obviously the strongest. It has actually been really great seeing the art and animation get better and better and better each and every season that we get out of the 4 groups. The art and animation was easily the strongest that, it continues to be what the first season gave us, what Niji gave us, and I have no gripes with the art and animation. I'm sorry, I got stumbled a little bit there, so sorry about that, but I have no gripes with the art and animation. It is exactly what I expected it to be. The visuals for all the songs were absolutely beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, and so the art and animation will keep its A, the only score that's going to keep its same rating that I gave the first season. So as a recap, the story gets a 5, the storyboarding gets a 6, the music gets an 8, and the art and animation gets a 10 out of 10. So this leaves us to the final score that I'm going to award this season. And I've kind of already leaked what that final score is. The story has to have the heaviest weight, because that is what gets me emotionally into the series that I'm watching, into the group that I'm watching, into whatever their goal is. And it also influences how I feel about conflict, and if I feel that the reward that was granted as a result of the conflict is warranted. We've all had our, issues with the Love Live series. Obviously, there were some people that hated Honoka after her shenanigans in the first iteration of Love Live, which of course was for Muse. But it all came together in the end. We've had our transgressions with Aqua, and we obviously had our issues both with the whole Aimu Yu situation that happened in the first season of Niji, and then of course with here and there how they were going to do Lanzu in the second season. But in the end, it felt like it all came together, and I was able to be really glowing. Even though it wasn't a perfect story, it just came together in the end. I don't feel that way this time, guys, and I feel that I cannot award a show, even Love Live, as much as I love Love Live, a 7.5 or an 8, which has always been my score, if I don't feel that that's the emotional connection that I got at the end. I personally do not feel that connection was there. I feel there were so many different ways they could have done this story in a better direction. And while I obviously will give the third season that was announced, the other day a chance, because I'm never not going to watch Love Live. I mean, I fucking love Love Live as a whole. And of course, I love the seiyus. The story wasn't really good this time around. And I hope that if they're going to ride with the narrative they've chosen to ride with, which I'm already going to be going into the third season kind of with less than positive thoughts, hopefully they'll be able to make it a bit more cohesive than they did this time around. And hopefully I'll be able to give a higher collective score than I'm about to give now. The second season of Love Live Superstar will get a 6.5 out of 10. The strong points are of course going to go to the animation, art, and the music, and the weak points are going to go to the story itself. I'm sorry, guys. I know some of you are going to disagree with me with this. I know some of you are going to go on my comments and you're going to say how wrong I am for this, and I will respect that. I will completely respect that, but I just won't be able to agree. The story kind of really went whatever way it wanted to go. It just felt that we were trying to kind of figure stuff out as we got to the end. And then, we're just going to pop in that, never mind, Kanan's not going. We knocked out all the strong players just to knock out the strong players. And bam, here we are. And I'm just not a fan of that. So, with that said, that is my official thoughts on the finale and the second season as a whole. Respectfully, I always will hear what you have to say. So, don't hesitate to leave your comments how you feel. If you thought that all the things I said were wrong, were great things that made this one of the most special series in Love Live history, please go ahead and say it. I will respect your opinion while I will not agree with it. And this brings me to one last point that I want to say here before we say goodbye to each other. My opinions that I have just expressed here are solely opinions on the story of the second season of Love Live Superstar. These opinions only reflect the fictional aspect of this series. I want you to look at these girls that I'm putting up on screen now, and I want you to understand that I love every single one of these girls, as all of us do. In real life, I have nothing but love and appreciation for what all the different seiyus for all 4 projects of Love Live have done. And without these wonderful girls, we would not have Liela. And goodness knows these girls have worked hard as hell, especially our initial 5, through all the in real life lives that they've done. Y'all all remember that crazy tour that they had for their first full tour? I have nothing but the highest level of admiration for these seiyus. And I want you to remember to keep your personal opinion about the story, the fictional part of this series, separate from your opinion of the in real life seiyus. These girls deserve our absolute love. They deserve our absolute support. And despite the fact that I was not the biggest fan of this story and had to give it an appropriate rating for that, I am going to be the very first person that will continue to support every live they do, every talk show they do, and I do hope you do the same and are able to separate the two. Please don't make any type of threats against seiyus for the fact you didn't like how they were portrayed in the story. Even when it came to Vienna, I know some of you were not as much into Vienna as I was, but her seiyu deserves all the love and support, even if you do not like the in real life seiyu. This goes into, how it was with Ichigo and Darling in the Franxx, and how it was with a variety of other shows. Mommy from Rent a Girlfriend. These seiyus, the fact that you dislike these people, 9 out of 10 chances is because they did a phenomenal job with their characters. That's something I say back to Rent a Girlfriend with Mommy. I love her voice actor. She did a phenomenal job making us absolutely hate her character. And so I just want to express that it is okay for people like me to dislike the series, or for people like you to dislike the series or like this series or the story, but to still have love and support for the seiyuu. So I hope that you will not perceive that my dislike for this story translated to me disliking the seiyus, because these girls are absolute gems. I love them vocally. I want to give again a big round of applause and accolades to our 4 new seiyus that did Shiki, Mei, Natsumi, and Kinako. They did a phenomenal job. This was actually some of their first roles that they've ever had, period, in voice acting and musical performance. And I think they did a phenomenal job, and they deserve the absolute highest level of accolades. Yes, they weren't perfect, but I know they're going to go very far, and I can't wait to see how far they go. And then, of course, from my personal level, I can't wait to see more of Vienna Margaret, especially when I assume we'll get to see her on stage and alive very soon. So that wraps up my Love Live Superstar Season 2 reaction. Thank you so very much for watching. Whether you liked what my thoughts were at the end or hated them, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate your support of my reaction and of this channel. With the conclusion of this reaction, this does conclude my Summer 2022 season anime reactions, which means this will be the second to the last video you will see me until January. The next and final video to wrap up fully the season will be coming up tomorrow. It will be my Summer 2022 top 10 thoughts. I will talk about what my top 10 shows was. I will share with you what all of my ratings were for all 21 shows I watched. Please catch that tomorrow. That will come out, I think, around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then after that video wraps up, I will officially be on hiatus until the winter 2023 season. So thanks again, guys, for watching. If you did like the reaction, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to be one of the first to be notified when a new reaction becomes available, hit the bell icon. It has been an absolute blast and honor. Thank you for watching the second season of Love Live Superstar with me. And until the next reaction, catch you later.